Hi everyone, number one Marmaduke fan here. I just shot my video of issues 27 and 28 of Aquaman and talked about, when I looked at that video, I realized I got everything I wanted to talk about off my chest. The pacing, uh, looking at Sejic's art style and how I think he could improve it, my general impressions. It's a generally okay comic. I would say buy it if you have the cash for it, but I'm just not quite sure it's a $3.99 comic in my book. But anyway, for my next video, I was thinking about doing the story of these issues, but I keep looking at these covers, and man, I really dig Joshua Middleton, and I forgot that Joshua Middleton did this one too because it's just drawn so differently. So I think I'm gonna do like kind of a critique, generally in praise of Joshua Middleton, but do another of my cover critiques. There isn't that much roast worthy in these, so I don't need to marker them. Someone in the comment section said it kind of pains them to see me draw on top of a comic book, and I get that. So what I think I'll do is, as long as I can respect the art, I won't draw on it, but if it's something that I think is completely flawed, I'm okay drawing on it because I give these away and they go in a free bin, and I hope they get read 100 times by kids is what I'm hoping for. So if I marker it up, that's not, I don't see that as the worst thing, since it's the alternative to throwing them away. It's just giving them to a kid in kind of a rough state. But anyway, Joshua Middleton. So what I said about this one in the last video is that it's okay. It's kind of a cartoon style. Then I looked at it more carefully, and this is a pretty good human form foreshortened, and letting just like a few little geometric shapes in the ripples, and letting her, Mira, take up most of the energy. And the space in the composition, the more space you give something, the more important it's going to seem. And looking at it, then I remembered a few things from my art school days with Mr. Renaissance Man. So I'm going to show you this on my hand to do it, because this gets to the point of the tendons of the wrist and how to keep your hands from looking like the wrists are broken or twisted around. So look at my hand, and when I make a fist, you're going to notice that the back of my hand goes up. That's because the tendons in your arm that make a fist run along the back of your arm like this. And when they pull taut, up comes your hand. Now, what this means is that it's more natural for a fist to be backwards. Now, let's watch what happens. So let's say you're holding your hand like this, and you make a fist. It pulls up, which means that if you look at your hand like this and you drew it, but then you changed it into a fist, it wouldn't work, because realistically what would happen is your wrist would pull up. So I think the same is true the other way. So if I'm like this, there, you see, I pull my fingers forward, and it kind of, I guess I can kind of, if I pull with all my might, I can keep it back there. But there's a natural tendency for it to want to come this way, because now these tendons are pulling these fingers tight, I think. So what I noticed about these wrists is that I always just hold out my hand and see if I can do it, because I've got fairly flexible hands. So if I can't do it, then it's probably beyond the realm of what a hand can do. I can barely do that. And even if you can just barely do it, it'll still look uncomfortable, even if it's like an intense moment. Like, I'd only use this kind of thing if someone's being tortured. So there we go. More of a right angle for that thumb back there. And then for this one, let's switch hands. I can kind of see that happening if you bent your thumb all the way down, but maybe just a little too much tension in those hands. And then looking at the top of the lip. So you got your own set of lips, so just look in a mirror. Everyone was roasting Henry Cavill for his lip looking like Uncanny Valley because they had to Photoshop out his mustache. So I don't remember the formal name for that little thingy-mabobber under the nose, but it's where your lips connect. And if you look at your own lips, what you got, or if you look at how to draw Marvel comics the Marvel way, they emphasize this little dip in the top of the lip. But here, the high point of the lip is right here, but the bottom lip is nice and full. So this is generally a pretty strong figure drawing of a girl, just two little annoying things, but I'm not going to marker it. So that was that. The only reason I did that is because I looked at it a second time once I realized it was Josh Middleton, and then I noticed a few more things. So these are the two covers I'm really looking at. And what's interesting is we've got a real different style in both of them. So the first one was kind of animated cartoon. This is kind of Renaissance-esque underdrawing. And then when I look at it closely, I think I can see gray pencil lines. So I think it was immediately from pencil to digital color. And there's some really strong things I want to talk about in color with this one. This is some really heavy inks. And what I wanted to say about it is the figures are not taking up enough space. We've got mostly waves back here. And I almost wonder if this was a placement error where he was expecting more info up here or something. But I would like everything to the box to get cropped down here, so that maybe Batman is just going right up to his fist, Wonder Woman is going right up to their fist. Crop out a little of the top of Aquaman's trident. His placement is pretty good, so he's at the top, sort of in the foreground, but the inking is very heavy. So once again, read How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. I have read some of like what are considered the best art books for serious Renaissance artists ever, and How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. I keep coming back to that book. It is so excellent in laying out the basic points that you need to remember. All those other great Renaissance books are great for some of the finer details, but you will never stop using How to Make Comics the Marvel Way, even if you're just trying to do serious, realistic drawing that isn't comic book drawing. So, too dark on the armor. They have those 3 panels where one is the correct inking, one is overly light and not enough variety in the line width, and one is over dark and overburdensome. So Aquaman is overburdened. Batman's okay. Wonder Woman's kind of a bit lighter, but even zooming in and letting them be a little bigger might have helped diminish that a little bit, because at least the little white spots wouldn't be so cramped. And I also think the coloring might be darkening it somewhat too. If you have dark digital coloring on top of black line art, everything is going to move darker. So little shade on that one. I need to talk about the story of this one later, but that's going to be a separate video. Today we're just going to talk about Josh Middleton's cover. This is a good cover. I don't think it's one of like the best covers of all time, but I'm seeing some real strengths in Josh Middleton's work, and this is easily the one, when I looked at the others, that I would want to collect. So I don't know if I'll hold on to these books. I think I'll still put them in the donation bin, but solid cover here. So let's take a close look at it. Let's see if I can get my light on again and hold. Now, I think the glare's okay as long as I just hold it at an angle. Okay, so we got Dolphin, we got Aquaman. And what I was really noticing here is this light yellow light and this green light in the shadow and this subtle little texture here. And this is, I think, an illustration of digital coloring being used very well, because Middleton has sketched out the human face and the contours beautifully. Beautiful sketch. And then has painted a strong highlight, a mid-tone, and then the transition between light and dark is just this little patchwork of dots that relates to his sort of patchwork of lines. So it's not a million shades between light yellow to shadow, which looks three-dimensional, and fights with the 2D black line art. It's 2 colors, 2 tones, and it uses a traditional texture style. It's almost like that fingerprint. I use my fingers to get a fingerprint look in painting. And with just 2 colors, create subtlety based on the application of the paint rather than using a million colors to get subtlety. Your paint application can create subtlety with less colors, and less colors in comic art especially tends to be stronger, and it's good to have less colors so you can think about your color composition. So that was gorgeous. I just couldn't stop looking at that. Maybe it's a little dull for Aquaman to be staring straight forward, but I don't mind having kind of a calm resting place with all this going on. For the rest of the composition, it's sort of typical movie poster, every star's face. Let's get every star's face photoshopped together. But each of the drawings are so solid. I don't mind. Mira looks good. The villain has got an evil, over-the-top, sinister expression and a sinister hand. And this is where you can really see the pencil marks underneath everything. And yeah, this is just a completely solid cover, and I wouldn't marker anything that I can see on it. Maybe if I spent hours and hours looking at it, as like a perfectionist, I could find a few things. Oh, that's right, she's got weird webs on her hands. That's why that's doing that. But not only is it a good underdrawing, but color was used really well here. There's a little bit more subtlety in the color here, but I feel like what's nice is the people in the background are more gray and pencil-like, and Aquaman in the foreground is more dark and pushes forward. So not only does he have the darker line work, he also has the more sharp light and dark color, but then back here we've got a little bit more soft gradation between light and dark color. So wow, this is an excellent cover. It's using painterly styles in a way that fits with the line work rather than fights with the line work. So I am so happy with this cover. Good on you, Josh Middleton. I will keep an eye out for your books, and for comic books I keep forever, I will probably want to keep forever the Joshua Middleton covers at this rate. So no review of these comics yet. I'll read them more carefully and see if I have a thesis. #1 Marmaduke fan. Love you guys. I don't have digital codes for these ones, unfortunately, but I do have more digital codes coming down the pipe later. Catch you later.